Hey everyone, my name's Gabor. I thought it would be a great idea to do a little vintage NIXIE tube project. The NIXIE tube's a unique numeric display that was originally engineered and developed around the 1940s. It's basically a glass tube. Contained within the glass tube is low pressure gas, primarily consisting of neon. Metal electrodes are placed one behind the other in the tube. One of these is a mesh, which is the anode. And there isn't just one cathode, but many. Each digit and the decimal point counts as a cathode. So there's the sealed glass tube with low pressure neon gas inside. It has metal parts, each with its own lead, and if we apply voltage to these leads correctly, a plasma state is created, and it will glow with an orange color. And this voltage is about 200 volts at startup, and then it's reduced to about 150. And a tube like this draws a few milliamps at 150 volts, which is enough for the orange plasma to stay lit, so we can see a digit clearly. They were used in many places from the 1950s on. Back then, this was how numbers were displayed. Initially, the lifespan of such a tube was about 10,000 hours, but later they improved a lot, and some tubes can last 200,000 hours. My first thought regarding NIXIE tubes was to build a clock. And do you know what my second thought was? Let's modernize it, specifically with an LCD display. I think you might also be wondering, if I display numbers on a screen to show the time, for example, where's that NIXIE vibe, if you can call it that? Because these displays are quite digital, literally. Here's a hello message, and here's a powerful ESP32 microcontroller, which has two distinct numbers, a 3 and a 2. And I should construct a functional clock out of this? Let's take this creative idea to the next level. Take a closer look at my laptop screen here. You see these numbers? These can be easily downloaded in PNG format. And if I put those numbers on this display, then we can really get that classic and vintage NIXIE tube vibe. Here are 5 separate displays. 2 of them are designed to handle the hours, 2 for the minutes, and this middle one performs the colon function. So we have to discover a reliable method to get those images you saw on my laptop screen to appear on the display, where each image represents a number, plus here is the colon. And right here is a brief little demonstration for you. Here is the number 0, then comes 1, then 2, and this is already very similar to what a NIXIE display produces. It is certainly not exactly the same, but it's similar. In my introduction, I mentioned that the original NIXIE tube has a grid, and the numbers are made out of metal with a bit of plasma inside, which gives off that orange glow. You can see the grid here as well. The display shows that too. I know it's just a visual representation and not a real grid, but honestly, it's pretty good. You can buy displays in all sorts of sizes. For example, this one is 1.8 inches. This one is exactly 2.2 inches in size, so you can easily choose the specific size of the display. On a much bigger display, the whole thing looks even better. I used a 3D printer to print a wide variety of different components. Some of these are custom designed protective display covers. This is what a display cover looks like. The display has some parts at the top and bottom that you might not want to see every day. That's exactly why this cover effectively hides them from your view. And this way, we get a kind of unit that gives us a chance to achieve some sort of NIXIE effect. Here's a smaller one, and this display also has parts at the top and bottom that are better off covered, so that's how I'll be able to display the numbers. If we line up 5 of these in a row, I can show the hours, the minutes, and even a colon in a similar way. For me, the first task was to get some numbers from somewhere, like a NIXIE tube display. I downloaded them from this website, downloadable one by one in PNG format. Every display has a physical resolution. For example, this one is 240 by 320. Another is 128 by 160. The downloaded image containing the number must be resized. This is what a downloaded image looks like. And with this software, or many others, you can resize it exactly to the size required by the display. Once you have the resized image, you need to use another program to convert it to RGB 565 format. 5 plus 6 plus 5 equals 16. So this means 16 bits, and it means that red is encoded with 5 bits, green with 6, and blue also with 5. There are countless online and free programs that can do this conversion. This one on the screen is one of them. I loaded the file called 7s.png, which contains the number 7. After loading, it immediately shows its resolution. I'll have a black background. You basically don't need to change anything. You should leave it set to generate Arduino code. It generates the code. And as you can see, this is what the code looks like down here. And by copying this, we basically get the file that we can relatively easily have the ESP32 draw on the display. This is what the contents of such a file look like. There will be 11 of these, since we need 10 for the numbers and 1 for the colon, and these need to be copied into a directory. So here are the 11 files, and somehow we need to create this file with the .ino extension. This is basically the code for the program, and it uploads everything to the ESP32. With displays, it's not just the resolution that matters, but also what kind of chip is on them. Here, they didn't write the type of chip, but on this display, they did. This one is an ST7735. For this other display, the specific model type is printed on the bag. This one is the ILI 9341. There are a lot of different display chips, and right now there are 4 on the screen. All 4 are different. But basically, it just means that at the beginning of the software code, you have to specify which type it is. For example, in this code, 7735 is specified, and from then on, it can handle it pretty easily on the board. Displays usually have quite a lot of pins. This type is a touch screen, so it's a touch display. And you can access the touch part here. So if someone touches the display here, we can read the coordinates here. This part is responsible for displaying the desired image data, etc. on the display. This display is not a touchscreen. This is the ST7735. The backlight is labeled as LED, and the power supply is marked as VCC and GND here. So you need to connect these plus 3 more: the LED, the GND, and the VCC. For the ILI display, I utilized essentially the exact same wiring setup. I have made all of the resized and converted files for these displays available for download. You can find a direct link to them in the video description, along with the full source code. Although, to be honest, the software code was actually developed primarily because I gave the requirements to Grok. I provided all the necessary data and asked it to make a little demo, and this is the demo I got. It worked on the first try. I loaded it into the Arduino sketch. This is what the main interface of the Arduino sketch looks like. Up here, I set which type of ESP32 I'm using. By the way, there's also a mini version, a really tiny one, so you have to select at the top which type of ESP32 you have. And here in the library section, you need to select and install the necessary files for the ST7735. From that point on, you basically just have to compile it and upload the code to the ESP32. You'll need a USB cable for that. Of course, it'll only work if the correct COM port appears here in the Tools section. Right now, I'm using port 12, and this ESP32 is connected to port 12. In reality, you do need to practice a bit, but this isn't an overly complicated program. I think you can get the hang of it in a few hours. And now comes the time-consuming part of the whole thing. I'm going to assemble the clock from these components. You'll need quite a lot of wire too, since each display requires a fair amount of wiring. I connected everything together in about 4 hours. It proceeded much faster than I had originally anticipated, and I experienced a profound and satisfying sense of accomplishment. I could see the numbers appear, the colon, everything was working perfectly. But when I wanted to do this with 5 displays, the hardware side became considerably more complex and challenging with all the extra cables. That is absolutely for certain. All right, I am going to get started right now and show you exactly what the result looks like. The cabling is a bit disorganized and chaotic, there is no doubt about that. But in return, now there is an image on all the displays, all 5 of them, and you have to carefully figure out and piece together what time it is from them. I will help a bit. It says right here that it is 1422, and obviously you have to put the displays in the correct chronological order. And from then on, I'll have a clock. Let's take another look at the 3D printed parts. I showed you that these are display covers. These 5 pieces can be used for these displays, so they cover up the unnecessary parts we don't want to see, like here. And for the larger display, I printed 5 pieces here and also 5 pieces here. But this one's the odd one out, not because it turned out badly, but because I thought that I could use a display like this here, which has this shape, and this would serve as the colon function. So, what this display provides, for example, and then I wouldn't need to use such a large display. Maybe this will work too. Anyway, for now, I'm going with this. With these 5 pieces, I'll tidy things up a bit, and then we'll see how it looks. So, this is the current visual experience. It is currently 2:58 p.m., and the whole thing is running entirely off this small power bank, and now it is already 2:59 p.m. Every single digit is in its correct place, but there is still quite a bit of work to be done here. First, I need to make a proper permanent case for it. This was just quickly put together as a simple test. Now I can clearly see that the display fits perfectly, so from here on it is just some careful planning and about a 4 to 5 hour 3D print, after which it'll have a nice case. For some reason, the background of this display is much blacker than the others. I think I'll swap it out. I still have some displays here. I'll put this one in, and hopefully from then on, the background will be uniformly black. Let's take a closer look. I think it looks pretty good. In fact, it would be best if the background was the same. For the first 4 digits as for the last one, this black looks pretty good, and I'll need to cover this part here, and then it won't be as distracting as it is now. So there's still a bit of work to do on it, but after that, I'll have a really nice little clock. I turned off the lamp, and some light is filtering in through the window. That's what you see. But even so, it still looks really, really good. In fact, it might even look better than with the lamp on. And even though the AI wrote the code for the ESP32, you can rest assured that Skynet isn't here, and the Terminator will not be coming around knocking on the door. If anyone is a Schwarzenegger fan, I highly recommend traveling to Graz, Austria. Located approximately a 20-minute drive away from the center is a small town called Thal. This is Schwarzenegger's birthplace. It has been operating as a museum since 2011. The entry fee is minimal, and it's great fun. There are transformers in the garden and all sorts of wonders inside, including the motorcycle used in the Terminator movie. You can learn a lot from projects like this. A store bought clock will obviously have some kind of display, but not a stylish one like this that I've shown you. And the feeling is priceless. I'm glad you came. Come back again. And if you haven't subscribed to my YouTube channel yet, please subscribe. Please click on the bell to ensure that you receive notifications. Thank you very much. Goodbye for now.